All right, guys, it's Super Bowl Sunday. In case you're wondering what you can make for your guests, we got a great idea. Just make some cheesesteaks. You know, I'm not going to go out and call it a Philly cheesesteak because, you know, we do. So we add some of my personal favorites to it. I like peppers and onions. I put provolone cheese and a little bit of white American. Not a big fan of the melty, the cheese sauce. That's not really my thing. But for the Super Bowl, you know, nothing could be better than a little cheesesteak. We got our peppers and onions, so we, you know, I like to do a little bit of a mix, both red and green. Adds a little bit of different flavor, a little bit of color, looks real nice. Oh, Vinny's making me cry over here. I like that, just a little pinch of salt. So I just add a couple tablespoons of olive oil. You can use vegetable oil, why not use olive oil? And we'll let that heat up for a little bit, and then we'll add the peppers and onions right to it. Medium heat. And just keep an eye on it. You don't want to get too much color. If it starts to pick up color and look like it's caramelizing a little too much, turn it down a little bit and you can add a little splash of water and just scrape the bottom of the pan, kind of deglaze it in a sense, and that'll just keep it in a real nice happy place. You know, a cheesesteak there's nothing, it's not some lean piece of meat. It's, you know, it's kind of greasy, kind of messy in a way, and, you know, boneless short ribs kind of delivers all that. So I like to cut them in half like that. I lay them out on the sheet tray, like so. Cut them in half, longwise, and then we're just gonna pop them in the freezer for 40 minutes, and then we'll slice them from there. So we just pulled our short ribs out of the freezer. They're nice and firm, but they're not frozen. I like to cut them into portions just so everything's ready for when we get to the griddle later. 8-ounce portions per sandwich, and I like to separate them with just little cut-up pieces of parchment, so that when you're making sandwiches, you don't have to worry about finding the right ratio of meat. You're already ready to go. Each piece of paper is a sandwich. So we got our grill pan heated up. We got about medium high, not too hot, but hot enough. Add a little bit of oil to the skillet, not too much because the short ribs have so much fat in them that you don't really need to go crazy adding oil, because once it starts cooking, it's just going to get nice and beautiful. Like so. Kind of just start to chip it out and almost not shred it, but just kind of break it up so you're not getting these big steaky bites, and it eats really well as a sandwich. Just a little bit of salt and pepper, not too much. And here we go, we got our already sauteed hot peppers and onions. What I like to do is a little bit of a shingling of the cheese. One slice of the white American, then a slice of the provolone, another slice of the white, and then the provolone. Lay that down nice and flat.
Nice.
Right, we got a nice shingle going.
Yeah, see, a lot of people think that when you first hit it on the, you know, the flat top or the grill or whatever, you want to like kill it and like get like all your color then. But this is where you're going to start to get your color. You know, all this is going to start happening around those edges.
And when we take it off the grill pan, you'll see there'll be a nice little crispy bit on the bottom.
Crusted together.
Yeah, and that's kind of nice. And then a little bit of softer meat on top. But by the time the cheese melts, everything will be fully cooked. Bread. And you see we got a nice little crusty bits right into the foil with the parchment. Give it a little wrap, little fold, like that. And you just throw that on your tray. Let that hang out for a little bit, but let them sit, and that's where the marriage happens. The cheese will melt even more. Everything kind of sets up. You don't want it super hot. You almost want it just above warm. And if you don't want to wrap them up in foil, which, you know, I recommend you do, if you don't want to wrap them up in foil, you can just go straight to a platter. Super simple, easy to make, crowd pleaser, great for a party, great for the Super Bowl. Thanks for tuning in. You find the recipe at bonappetit.com or in the February issue. Do a little dip on there, nice.